Yo.
Yo. You're very low now. Can't even hear you.
I didn't change anything, bro. What the fuck?
Now I can hear you normally. I guess you moved away from your mic.
I need to get used to stop actually being in the mic then. I need to be in the mic.
Because now I hear you fine now.
Okay, I'm gonna be in the mic, dude.
Yeah. Hear you absolutely fine.
Combine. Maybe you should.
Because like, look, if I look here and talk, do I sound different?
Yeah, a bit further away. A little.
Yeah, but if I move away like this, I sound real low, right? Like I'm really far away now.
Not that. Yeah, I just know you far, but it's not that low. No.
You sound very low for some reason.
Look, I go behind now. I'm going further away.
Yeah. Okay, now we can hear you, but it was fine like 3 seconds ago.
Okay. I'm back at my mic.
Okay.
What's up?
Right,
I'm live already, by the way.
Oh no. Not already?
Yeah, they hear everything you said. Just self-expose everything. It's all out there now.
Damn. You know, I stick a finger in my ass and lick it sometimes just for a taste of Nutella.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know everything now, dude. Yo, Magarafuji, 100 bits, arigato. Let me thank some subs from yesterday, chat. People gifted subs yesterday. I gotta address it real quick. So we had Malitent with 2 months. Appreciate you, welcome back. We got a gifted from Rosario. We have gifted from Luna. We have 5 from Krajceska, 5 from Luna again, 5 from I think this is our oil Hong Kong oil imprints. Thank you. Caboose with what is that? 60 gifted subs. Thank you so much. Eru 5 and Half Fix with 10. Thank you guys so much. And then all the resubs yesterday. Tyrannis with a gift. Tier 1 from Simpage. 5 from Remy. Luna gifting 1 more. Rebellion 4 months. Zai 6 months. Welcome back, everyone. Appreciate you guys. I know I missed it because obviously, you know, we were playing tournament, but appreciate all you guys. Caboose 60 gift is massive. Appreciate you. Still got love for the sheets. Pam 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 pam. Alright, get in the game, motherfuckers. Thank you, chat. What's up, everyone? How's everyone? Good morning, good day, good evening.
Showing asses.
Good morning, good day, good evening, good everything. What's up? How you guys doing? What's up, Dippy? Good morning. I seen Kyla debut a little bit, but I didn't get to see much because, you know, here we are.
I changed some shit now. And I can't hear me breathe. Smile.
You sound fine to me.
Good. I'm not touching anything.
Don't touch any at all anymore. It's perfect. It's your birthday. Manatake, arigato. Sabaki. She hates FPS. Yeah. This is what it is. Can't get them all. At least we have Zeta, you know? We have Zeta. Real is the first team on Apex to secure line. Let's fucking go, baby. Jen Burton land. Good night, Adrian. Thank you. Yeah, crazy Dippy. Dude, absolute zero fucks given. Old man, shut the fuck up. What's it?
Someone said LGS starts an hour earlier today. Is that true?
Oh.
It starts. Yeah, it starts in 2 hours.
Damn.
Really?
Yeah.
In a gangster's paradise. Motherfucker, really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it
It's
does.
2 hours.
Why only today? Tomorrow it's back normal.
I don't know. Daylight
Today-
saving times.
Today starts 5 p.m. and then Sunday and Monday is back to 6 p.m. Why?
I don't know.
Can you guys just go firing range?
Fine range? Us too?
Oh yeah, while you're fixing.
Yeah, my Apex. There's no sound for my Apex to OBS.
Yeah.
24 ratings going, I don't know. And you and me. Is it a type? Are you sure it starts earlier?
What are you saying?
It could be a typo, right?
I don't know.
What's that mean, man? You gonna ready up for this fire range or what?
But yeah, I didn't see you were fucking up there.
Paradise, money and the power. After. Well, we only have 2 hours to warm up then. Hurry the fuck
Yeah.
up.
I'm gonna shoot 700 bullets with a light weapon real quick
With fucking
before we start shooting each other.
fucking what's it called? Hal got like 3.3k yesterday.
I saw.
It's
That was
apparently an NA world record. NA record. I don't know if anyone got more than that. I have a feeling you kind of beat that at one point, definitely.
Oh, me? Yeah, I think I had 4K in one of our LGS games.
Yeah.
Just resubscribed for 3 months.
Man, NA sucks.
Wait,
dude.
no one has had a 4K in
No.
LGS in NA?
Nope.
No shot. I've seen
Someone
multiple
there-
people.
Thank you for 3 months. Welcome back. Appreciate you. You have advice for not dying in Apex? Don't be bad. Thank you, Wolf City. Are you?
Blah blah baby. Hey.
Do you review the watch party VOD of Sweet to confirm you guys made the best decision, or if he has another opinion or decision? Yeah, I live in his VOD. That's my #1 priority. After every game, I go.
What did he
straight.
say?
He said, "Do you review the watch party VOD of Sweet to confirm you guys made the best decision, or if he has another opinion of your decision?" But no, I don't always review his VODs. I've watched his watch party sometimes, but not always, and not all the games.
Sweet and skill cakes. Their zone knowledge is fucking weird, dude. They're special people.
And most our mistakes don't come from zone knowledge, man. They come from individual small mistakes.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about general. I was watching Watch Party yesterday. Sweet and shit. And dude, Skittle cakes and him, they're fucking weird, dude. They're special, dude. I think they're born with like some extra stuff in their body or some shit injected when they were born.
I think they just play a lot, man. But nah, our problem is never like really. Rarely do we make a mistake on rotation. It's like we had one yesterday, where we Basically got gate tipped in store point. Gate tipped out of everything. Right? And that was obviously my bad. But in terms of that, all rotations yesterday were good. We just did mistakes like you falling off the roof, us not watching the back, me fucking not seeing a truck and calling up stupid push. You know, shit like that. Those are individual mistakes. Those are not like, those are very fixable individual mistakes. Our rotations were really good the entire time. And our zone play. Yeah, that endgame is pretty fucking bad though. That
Which one?
With the spider hills, with the 2 chokes.
Oh, that's
That's such a rough ending.
But I'm gonna be honest with you, I think they're gonna add more like entryways to like the mountains and shit at some point.
They should, because that's fucking ass there. You only have like 2 ways up. Yeah, but we're never forcing through that jumbo joint ever again unless we get a knock. Never forcing through that unless we get a knock.
We what?
We're never forcing through that choke again unless we get a knock on someone.
Yeah, agreed. Well, a ton of damage.
Yo, Caboose, thank you for
Lucy
60 gifted
Fraser,
yesterday, by the way. I
ace.
appreciate you. I didn't get to say thanks because of 10 minutes delay, but I appreciate you. Dude, I can't believe yesterday we won a game where I was running double wingman, dude. For the start. Like, we won a fight versus control players and I'm running double wingman. Living dangerously. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. How long until it just should be 2 hours.
Andy, are you here?
Yeah, what's up?
Can you tell me, bro, is your output on system and your input on broadcast stream mix in your gaming kit?
Let me look. Just like. My output is on chat and my input is chat mic.
Chat.
Do you want me to help you with your other settings?
I'll let you know. Just do your thing, bro. I'll let you know.
Okay.
I'm doing shit.
Yeah. Make sure we warm up, Tashin. We don't have a lot of time.
I know. I'm just not gonna stream if it doesn't work. I don't care.
Okay. Just gotta have time to warm up. Tashin have PC issues? No, Tashin is installing a Shure mic and he's figuring out the setting now.
Yeah, I'm back. Dude, Nick Merckx was watching us play yesterday, and he was fucking roasting me, dude.
What?
He was just, he wasn't roasting me. He was just like, dude, I love Mandy. I fuck with him all the time. He's like, oh, dude, you're fucking ugly and shit. But you know what? Positive vibes. I fucking love him, dude. He's such a funny guy, dude. Wait, can you hit every single bullet inside the little small thing right there?
The what?
Inside, like...
In the middle?
Nah, you can't. Not unless you fucking start doing some crazy shit where you start fucking jittering your entire fucking life away and get arthritis, dude.
I can't even jitter aim with this end, but super hard to jitter aim with this end. My like whole arm hurts if I get her in. This guy's head is small.
Nice.
What's sent? 07800.
Can we do some super long range shit against each other?
Yeah.
Alright. Pick a
I'll go by
wingman, I'll
wingman,
pick
though.
3-1 and we'll just fuck. Yeah. And we'll just start shooting each other. Alright. You ready?
How far do you want to go?
How much is that? I feel like 60 meters, I'd say that. 60, 70 here.
That's 100.
Oh yeah, but like
But I don't have swaps here.
no, but just oh yeah, true. Never mind. Go one closer then. And take the
Yeah.
swabs.
I'm here.
Oh,
It
dude,
is?
we peek left side, peek left side.
That's right, side.
Alright?
It's just usually about how far I shoot my wingman anyway. In comp.
No, it's over there.
This is why I pick up the most kills in this range. Thing echo. Ooh, shush.
Oh my god! The waterfall is activated in the range.
I'm gonna try and go for headies. I got the white armor on me, babe. Sheesh, did I not swap? You're
Oh,
white.
white armor juice, dude. Let's go, baby.
God, I shot you over your personal shield in the head. Cash moves everything around me. What's up, chat? Sorry, I know you guys. I've been ignoring you guys a little bit, but I'm sorry. I'm trying to warm up.
I feel like this is a pretty good angle, like a good range to like fucking shoot each other at.
Yeah, it's a good warm up. For me, at least.
Yeah, same here. White juice.
Okay, I whiffed everything. White armor, Randy.
Oh my god.
No way you listen to Ash with white armor. Sending my Q.
Tanking your Q.
True.
Swapping.
Dude, yesterday in the final fight of that one game we won, I get cracked and I swapped to a white armor right below me. There was a box with white armor. I swapped that shit, turned around, killed the Ash, dude. Different.
Fuck, wait, just like, I accidentally fucking clicked some shit.
Great job putting this.
Let's go. Oh, one clip, dude. Oof.
Alright, I'm ready.
Same. Nice shots.
Double heady.
Ooh.
Triple heady. I mean, I'm just different.
Actually, good shit.
Using cover perfectly. Like a true
Ah,
wingman,
see that.
true wingman god. Gotta use your cover. The thing
True
about
wingman player.
wingman is like you don't wanna ever like really stand in the open and shoot your wingman because you don't move that much, you know. You could beam. Anyone that has good
Oh,
track
I
is
know my
gonna beam you.
bullets.
But like if you play your cover really well, this gun is fucking OP. Morning, Locan. Cash moves everything around me. Dollar dollar bill, yo.
I got shit on.
That was white armor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Sally's team and Raz's team today farmed.
Yeah.
I'm surprised to see that Sally like left Crazy Raccoon. Like what happened? How come he left for his old team?
I know. Maybe they had a fucking pact like G Snake and those guys had.
Packed. I
Yeah.
think they're all friends. Not left. He wants to compete with Obli. Well, no, but like, I know he's still on CR, chat. I just like, he's no longer on the main team, which is, I would just want to know the reason.
Yeah.
I guess he just wants to compete with his old friends.
Maybe.
But they're doing really fucking good. Like, they're fucking farming everything.
Get 30 kills.
That's me, Karin.
Keep fucking farming.
Are you good, Tashin? You fix your shit?
Do I sound good?
Yeah.
But the only thing is, if I wanna hear, the OBS can hear you guys.
You're cutting
Then
off
it
a
has-
little bit.
I have the problem if I press a button, let's hear the game through Discord.
Yeah. For us, you're cutting off in Discord again.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not good. Da 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 dam. You white armor again.
Yeah, no. A little tickle on the way over to get armor swap too.
Holy shit with the 60.
Wait, I just fucking I need to fucking eat the rest of my bun. I have like half one left.
Alright. We need Mr. T to start warming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you fix it, Tishin? The mic?
Yeah, I think it's not cutting out anymore, but I just can't.
It still cuts out.
Oh fuck, dude. Oh, what is this mic? Fucking waste money for issues.
And we hear whatever the fuck you
Dude,
just
what
played.
the fuck are you doing, man? Holy shit.
What was that?
So?
What was that? Hello? Tishin? It was Apex launching? Oh.
Yeah.
Hey, that was loud, man. Why does that happen?
I don't know.
Do you press a button or something? We can't have that in a tournament. When nades are exploding and we can't hear shit.
Of course not.
And you're really cutting off a lot, like we can't even hear you at all. You need to go on Manda settings.
Yeah.
Those settings were good. Will we see Bochek Manda? I don't know, ask him.
Motherfucker, I played that shit like 3 times the last 3 days. What do you mean, see it? Want to play every game? Holy shit, dude.
Yeah, Bochek only did.
Yeah. Hey, 300 bullet, 301 fully stacked, or a bow with 32, dude.
But knowing you, Bo with 32 did.
Oh my god. You have no idea how many times I've slipped up on this bow the last few days and I really wanted to pick it up. But I knew like it would be a fucking throw for picking it up compared to what I would be able to do with the 301.
I think if we have you in 301 or a Spitfire or something, you're just always farming. Hey Harry, good, are you? LGS is in like an hour and a half according to the schedule.
Yeah,
But I don't know, I'm trying to ask admins if that's true.
it is. Everyone's literally saying it. There's no way it's not.
Yeah, but I want confirmation from admins. It has to do with daylight savings time and it requires breaks for our production partners, but it's not a new change, it's been a schedule it was announced. Alright, yeah, it's an hour and a half. Where's Station? We need him to start warming up, he doesn't have time.
Yeah, he will.
Big L, rest in peace.
I can't eat more. If I eat more, I'm gonna throw up, dude. Holy shit, these buns and fucking this food is crazy. It's filling up my stomach so much, dude.
Yeah, don't make yourself throw up, dude.
Oh my
Don't feel
god.
bad. What's up, Jazz? Lock the fuck in. I'm locked in. How are you guys doing? Let's go Stockholm? Yes, let's go. I have to meet Raz in Stockholm. Get Korean barbecue with Raz. Yeah, guys. Say Giddy.
I'm about to build.
Just use your old mic, Tishin. Fuck this new mic. Switch to your old mic and just figure this out of the tournament.
Yeah,
Or like next week or some shit. Cause it's not gonna go anywhere, you know? The mic is not gonna go anywhere. We'll be able to fix it later. We just don't have
what's
time
up?
now, and we only have an hour and a half to warm up. So
Oh.
I'm just telling Tashin to switch to his Elgato mic and fix the mic after the tournament or something. Because we need.
I'll help after the tournament. Tashin, we sit down after the tournament and we do everything, right? So it works for tomorrow.
Yeah.
It doesn't take that long, but we can't do it right now.
Yeah, we only have an hour and a half to warm up, and today is an important day. We should just warm up. The 4th and 5th day are the most important mapping.
I copied Mandy. I know.
It's my age.
There's a bunch of other settings too you gotta copy and shit like that.
So brain fucked, man.
I'll sit down with you, don't worry about it. Because we only have one conversation.
Biggie, can't you see? Sometimes the world just hypnotize me. The world just hypnotize me. I just love your flashy ways. Got him on a leash. You wanna do what he wants, Mende?
Yeah.
Biggie, 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 can't you see? It just hypnotize me. Your flashy ways.
Let's go, baby. Oh fuck, that's all around. Ooh, good shot, dude. Holy fuck.
Shit.
Good shot.
That was close. Oh, Maggie. Yeah, the chat today, LJ is an hour early for some reason. It's like daylight savings or some shit.
Ooh, that was bad.
From me too. Fuck. What is that?
A little 260?
Oh, it's been a wall. Fuck, I thought you were gonna bubble, man. What's up with the switch up, dude?
I'll shoot, man.
Fuck. Oh, you just going?
Yeah.
Oh, you jumped over the leash?
Yeah, I did. Oh shit. Woo! I got stuck in your body, dude. They always say congratulations.
This is like the worst thing a wingman player can do. Is wide swing a 3-1.
Haha.
Uh-huh.
You like that?
Yo.
Yo.
Wait, I can hear you.
Ah!
No, everything good, I'm coming.
What's up?
Yeah, you
I'm
good?
back.
Let me turn you up a little bit because I lowered you.
That
Don't-
was fucking stressful.
Just
Yeah,
go
okay.
whenever.
Yeah.
Alright.
Tragic.
Have we met IRL? Yeah, multiple times. We met in Poland and Copenhagen.
Not a lot actually.
Twice.
Oh, dude, that's no. Oh no!
I just did a sideways super glide on you.
Oh wait, I thought you died.
Oh no. We met only twice IRL. We obviously would have met a lot more if there was no COVID, but no, you guys actually met 3 times, right?
I saw Mandy
Yeah.
3 times. Oh.
Well, I met you
Yeah.
guys twice. Poland and
Cringe.
Okay, then.
How the
Cringe.
fuck you didn't hit that? You didn't hit that. I refuse to believe I was on your monitor on that second shot.
you were.
I refuse because I could not see anything but a big fucking ancient rock in my head. Holy shit.
How do you
dude.
know the rock's ancient?
I can see it, dude. $11? I couldn't even see you.
16?
How are you not dead? Ah, that's not good. Oh, that was good.
Holy shit, I had 80 and 88.
Yeah, I had the
Yeah, you hit it.
96, 87, 77.
I'm popping up here.
What the fuck?
Whoa, that was not a hit.
Let me join after
Oh,
5.
good shot, dude.
Well, you
Let me
ready?
join in the bot lobby. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go. Soar RPR.
Oh, I just tapped out.
That's some ancient fucking history of Apex.
Soar Reaper.
I was only in Soar for like 6 months. Before I joined North. Got poached by Manda.
Yeah.
Sir.
Picked
Turned
up
up-
Machine first, and then I picked up RPR after.
Turned a 78, everyone making fun of them, turned them into fucking championships. Here we are.
Yes, sir.
Motherfuckers really were making fun of you guys, like you guys weren't gonna win. What I tell you guys, first thing I joined the team, we're gonna win tournaments. That's the first thing I said after our first week of scrims. I told you guys we're gonna win tournaments.
I had a dream before, what's it called, before you know, like after fucking Poland or whatever. I was like, I just want to win one tournament in my life, just one, dude. I don't care. I literally just won. I had no idea that I wanted to win more. I was just like, I just want to win one tourney, dude. And, you know, make my dad proud and shit. See my dad be like, see my dad like up and fucking shouting and shit, you know. I just want to show my family, you know.
And we won fucking the most in EU now.
I won like 7, dude. It's crazy.
That's crazy.
We won the
Dude, my
most
family-
official tournaments in EU.
My family used to like remove my router so I can play games.
Dude,
Now,
my dad
literally,
would,
I'm.
Now I bought them.
dude,
now
my
I
dad
own
would
them.
leave for work with my monitor in his fucking backseat, dude.
Now my entire
And
family is
shrunk.
backseating me what to do, how I should play and shit.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, and now my parents, you guys should practice more. I'm like, man, shut the fuck up, dude.
My mom, I wake up, my mom saying, "Man, it's already live. What you doing?"
Oh my god.
You're fucking backseat by my
Oh
parents.
my god, that was, dude. Hey, I'm stuck.
Ah, you're making me panic. Yeah, like now I'm getting backseat by my parents, and before it was like they would leave for work with my monitor and my fucking PC in their trunk to get me off the PC. Dude. Now they're backseating my ass how I should lead the team.
Yeah. Dude.
Lag! Whoa! What the fuck was that? I thought you died!
Excuse me, sir? Where the fuck did you come from?
Upstream.
It's 1
That was
hour
straight
now. It's my turn to fuck you
Yeah,
guys.
we
Yeah,
should
let
let
me
the
let me
stream warm up.
let me fuck up Rare one time.
Yeah, right.
Oh, we're doing?
Yeah, then
I mean, talk about fucking holy
yeah, let's go, let's
shit.
go, come. Come on. What do you say about fucking, Arcry, huh? Oh, blah, 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 blah. No shot 12?
What the fuck is that? I can't even see you. How did that not hit
You
you?
little rat, you rat. You fucking real. Go up, Arcry. Kill him.
Oh, I'm playing
Warm him up, good.
invitation. Okay.
Yeah, do the wingman stuff with him.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
give me.
Go.
Yeah.
Okay, this guy's warm. Let's go next.
Now it's my turn.
He's warm. You got it. He's warm, dude.
Alright,
We don't even need
let me,
to warm up.
let me try. Let me see how warm he is, dude.
He's
let's
warm,
go.
dude. I'm moving on. He's still molding over the microphone, dude. You channel it all in the wingman shot.
I am fucking molding. Using wings. Massive motherfucker.
11, 22, 11, 22, 2.
Dude, I only, my second PC is not on and the game is fucking smooth. I'm not streaming today, by the way. This is
yeah,
fucking smooth. I can't do it. I uninstalled Voice Meter because I was happy. I'm rid of it, you know?
No way.
Yeah, I just uninstalled yesterday at night, everything. I was so happy. Now I'm disappointed, dude.
Wait, which capture card do you have?
Elgato 4K?
How is your game not smooth then?
I don't know. It's my PC, I guess. I don't know.
We're just gonna run the
I held later.
Run the
Alright.
outside. Run the outside.
It's fine, it's fine. I will figure it
Thank
out.
you,
don't
Diego.
worry,
Appreciate you. No, dude, I'll help
Let's
you,
just type it.
motherfucker. We'll do it after. Oh! I shot.
Yeah? I
I
better
didn't.
ping.
I lied. I didn't shoot.
Tell a friend.
Now you're fighting the signful. You ready?
Yeah.
I fucking had to cock my weapon there.
That's what I do with design, dude.
It's okay. Alright, one more and then I'll pair us.
Fuck up.
Your fucking character is so weird. I hate that. I love being stunned forever, dude.
Null 100?
Hey, juice.
One shot?
88, back to back. Go up,
Delay?
right?
What do you mean delay? I mean,
I shoot, you run, eh?
yep. Dude, this guy is hitting me before he's even on my screen. This guy is molding already. Fuck.
Oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god. I whiffed.
What's up, Randy?
Why am I stuck? I can move, help.
Are you stuck on a rock?
Hurts me. Yeah. Wait, maybe grapple helps.
Yeah, my
No,
ass. You can't even grapple anything. You're stuck in the ground. Execution, dude.
There, go fight him, fight him.
Ah, man, they go. Come.
Damn, that was fast.
Fucking stuck.
Come where? Oh,
Go
he's
to your
dead.
side. Yeah,
Can I
he
play
got stuck in the
Sentinel
ground.
against you guys?
Yeah, yeah.
There you
You
go.
won't hit shit though.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you on it.
I know Tashin's pattern with Sentinel.
It's
Know
my
what he
life.
does.
I picked one trick Sentinel gamer.
Got this motherfucker on a leash, dude.
That's so disgusting. The fact that you can see my fucking toes.
Low back you? Oh, you can low back you? Damn. They're smarter than us.
Come on. Arena. I just made it for us. I don't care. I'll take that. What? Don't, dude.
What are you
aim
doing?
Punch, aim punch just won it there. When you shot me, I shot a second after and it just shot straight up in the air. Holy fuck, dude. I'm a fucking man alive. I'm a fucking man alive.
Fuck, man, I can't do anything. I fight him. Fight Tushin. He's one up.
Looking out.
You and Pathfinder, but
Wait, what?
I'm shooting you already. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Why did I not miss? Why did I miss?
empty without me. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-da-da-da.
Almost.
Sentinel is my babe, bro.
I guess
love
it's
it.
daylight savings tonight, so that's why they're
It is,
doing
yeah.
it now.
That's what I'm thinking too.
We sleep 1 hour less tomorrow. Fuck. Na 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 na. Na 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 na.
Where's
na.
my arm shield?
Na 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 na. Woo! Kids!
Oof.
Fuck them kids.
It's not fair. Go.
I thought you died there.
It's
No,
2 weeks
what-
after the
what-
US, apparently, yeah. It's good. Well, to be honest, daylight savings were probably first invented in EU, and then Americans decided to be different, like with everything they do. What's up, Iris? Thank you, Sua.
Oh. Little fucking rat, they're trying to stun me.
Sentinel's rough in this fighting range.
Yeah, do it long range though.
Snoop D-O double G.
Nice slide out. Unexpected.
I hate this where I'm too close to the 3-timer, dude. There. I hate 2-timer here.
Get it known.
Flying around and shit,
6 in the
dude.
morning.
Oh, you're whiffing, bro. You're whiffing. Hello?
I have no scope on him, but no scoping.
Oh shit.
It's super hard to hit a fucking Valak also when you're flying around and shit. Oh, fuck
Happens all
me,
the
dude.
time. Gotta get mine. D-O-G.
Nice shot. Ooh.
Oh no. This thing did what? But there's a fat GB from I'm no scoping this. This is not Call of Duty then. That's for sure. That was a hit.
Yeah, Apostle thing for 2 months.
35
Welcome back.
You're
just
tracking?
subscribed for 2 months. Doing it for the cosplay goals again.
Dude,
Yes, sir.
bruh. Flying
Yes,
bitches.
sir. Third party. 9. You got this, Tashin? I got it. Don't worry. Don't worry. I got you.
Nice,
I got
dude.
you.
Oh, got rolled. Teabag
Yeah.
him? Teabag him?
Teabagging, teabagging.
Nice.
Yeah, third party is so hard, dude. Holy shit. He didn't adapt, you know?
Fucking hell, dude.
Yeah, the rockets are so annoying, man.
Getting stunned literally throws me off so much. It's crazy.
No.
Dude, I have such
doesn't
low
work,
sense.
dude.
When I get stunned, it's like I can't even move. It's like being a
Yeah.
controller.
PK time.
PK?
Lay back. Wait, I'm on Cedar. What the fuck?
Nice. I
No
like
idea,
it. I like
Alice.
how you
No
fuck
idea,
me
man.
with Master.
I'm not thinking about
That's
that
how you're
right
gonna
now.
fuck all of them later, dude.
I'll do my best, dude.
I know. I know you do.
Oof.
Yeah, turning should be 1 hour 15 exactly.
I need to reload, motherfucker. You just doing zing, zing, reload,
Zing,
zing,
zing.
zing,
I got the
reload,
zing.
zing, zing.
I got the 6 bullet.
IZT. Currently collabing with Ontario VLJS. Trying to fuck some dudes.
Oh.
Last chance. What is the reason for them to make it earlier today?
They're
Daylight
like 7
savings.
times.
Saving times. Oh my god. Well, saving times because teams couldn't join 5 times in a row or what?
No, it's the clock will switch tonight 1 hour plus, so we have to adjust. How do you call it for LAN? You have to get top 10 in this split of pro. Like, we're
Dude, we
currently
must have
like
shot in the
tied for
fucking
fourth.
bubble, dude.
Weird thing is.
That guy reload. Dude.
There's no way. 8! 8! How is it 8, dude?
Thank you, Muffin. I wonder, do you guys want to get bootcamp in Stockholm? Wonder if we can.
What?
I don't know, maybe.
I know there's a
Yeah.
certain bootcamp that just opened up in Stockholm. A really sick one with private rooms.
Private rooms?
Yeah, private rooms for teams. It's obviously pretty
That's not
expensive,
crazy.
but
Oof. Thought you died.
Turney's an hour. Will you meet IPN? I don't know.
Yeah, we killed each other?
I don't think we will meet IPN unless he flies to the venue, but I don't think he is allowed to
They're not
even
allowed. No.
come to the venue. I don't think there's audience allowed, so
Outside of 4 to
only
6. dude.
players and staff are allowed, I'm pretty sure. So no watchers. No watchers, dude.
No, I was not even in range.
No!
How's the turn going so
Yeah.
I'm
far?
not even in range.
We are currently tied in 4th
Rockets
place
hit me.
overall,
Oh no.
and we have 3 more days. So right now we're decent, but obviously now where we wanna be first.
Oof. I can't believe I missed that. 11? Why?
8? I do 8,
Are you
bro.
actually playing in the LGS?
Hey,
No,
go.
what do you think
Arthur.
I'm doing?
Arpro, you wanna feel some headshots, bro? You wanna
mean,
feel
can
some Kraber mini?
Let's go.
Yako
Where are
just
you?
resubscribed
Okay, go.
for 6 months.
Fuck, that's a sentinel.
Oh. Oh.
Do it. Oh shit. Oh shit, he's doing it. Yako, thank you for 6 months.
How the
Welcome
fuck
back.
hit that? Never in turning, never. Not that shot, dude.
Motherfucker said, my guy might just said, are you actually playing LGS? Nah, dude, I'm play pretending. You ready? Go.
Go. F. F.
Fuck is going on over there? What? Can can you pick a side you want to go to? So I can kill user.
Oh my god. Wait. No scope legends?
Did you hit yourself?
No.
Yeah, you did. Lying.
Oh my god,
Little
headshot.
liar.
Go.
Holy shit, what is your movement? I don't understand it.
How am I whiffing that? I don't understand. Oh, there we go.
I hate your movement. You're like Kardashian crack. Because you can also fly.
Oh my god. Yo.
Man, they styled it.
I think I need a 6 timer, not 4-8, dude. Not it. Go.
Good. Yeah, I'm the real shady. Well, that's not an equal trade. Alright, stay put.
Oh no!
That's such a hard angle for me, dude.
I need to reload and shit, dude.
Right?
Yeah.
Good.
Oh!
Get the fuck back here, dude.
Get the fuck back here, bitch.
Yeah, I saw it. He dropped like 3.3k damage.
Trying to pop off me.
And yeah, I've been a pro player since the game came out. Ready to go. That's a good start for me. Please stand up. Please stand up. Please stand up. It's all the imitating. Motherfucker, can you stop putting me in a montage?
Double headshot. 105, 105, bro. Ready? Go.
Go. No more flying around, bro. And I can't hit you, doesn't matter. This guy's warming up for the face challenge, dude. He's fucking hitting it, dude. Holy shit, the aim punch when you hit me with the sentinel is ridiculous.
Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit!
People don't understand how hard a good Valk is to hit. People don't understand how hard it is to hit a flying Valk.
Ask clench, dude.
I'm ready.
Go.
Literally have to put him on a
I'm
leash so I can
fucking
hit him.
stuck.
Oh! Oh! Oh!
I wouldn't be.
Oh, dude! Fuck you, dude. Where are you
Hey!
going? Where are you going? Where are you going? Come back here.
I'm hitting those. It's fine.
What was Mr. T before Valk? Bloodhound and then Watson. You ready?
Yeah. Yeah.
And even Gibby. We won a tournament with you and Gibby. When Mano
Yeah,
was
but
playing fat.
you guys carried that.
Yeah,
Was it Tashin?
we did
Wait,
kind
when
of
did I play?
Pathfinder.
Oh.
It was when we first time we played Pathfinder and Gibby, and then after that we dropped that comp. But yeah, me and Manda did kind of pop off that tournament really
Yeah,
hard.
you did.
Which tournament was that?
It was a KC, I think it's KC World's Edge tournament. It was like after summer, after we won the summer, the GLL.
Yeah.
It was like right after that.
Oh,
when
that
KC
one, yeah.
When KC was still in the loot pool. motherfucker. Get the fuck down, dude.
Down. I give you triple headshot
What are maps today?
now.
3 World's Edge, 3 Storm Point. We start on World's Edge today. Let's go.
Yeah.
Go. Look at this RPI.
I'm looking.
You mad, bro?
I'm so mad.
Oh.
Being really mad right now.
What's up, paintball? I'm chilling. Just watching you guys warm up.
Fucking hell.
Oh my goodness, full of feeling right.
Okay.
Keep going, people.
Free fire. Storm Point a good comp map. I like it. My opinion.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Storm's pretty chill.
But I always liked having multiple maps in comp. Like even when KC was being played, I loved KC. Like the old one, not the new one, obviously. Fucking aim punched.
No, yo, you do that, bro. Mandy, go fuck him. I need to pick up spray gun, spray a little bit over here.
Starts in about an hour, chat. You ready? No rig, what the fuck? Ready?
I only have shotgun.
Roger.
And I accidentally tapped out, so like
I'm picking.
I gotta tap out again, so like
Okay.
there.
Yeah,
No,
some
I'm picking
tap, man.
Pathfinder. Fuck it.
What is that? Like. Fuck.
Living life like a rock star, pulling up stretch limousine.
Little bubbly.
Ah, I should've hit that, yeah.
I fucking like auto climbed the small ledge.
Yeah,
dude.
exactly. That fucked me up. I looked down and when you were fucking up.
Ready?
Yeah.
Oh no, I missed that. I should have missed that, bro. That was bad. Would have broke your arm shield if I had it.
I haven't played the flatline for a while, man. We should craft that shit also.
Wow, I'm just playing wingman, bro. I don't give a fuck about no flatline.
Yeah, I should craft
Well,
that
that was not in the bubble.
I can see your fucking pinky toe.
Dead.
Oh my god.
I just hit 290s without breaking your arm shield.
Yeah.
You don't like flatline? I like it, but I like wingman more. It's more my style. Fuck, man.
Dude, I love it. If you, I love flatline and bubble fights. If you jitter aim close range and you just hit every headshot, dude.
Yeah.
That gun shit's really good. Hip fire.
Oh my god.
That's a sick bubble, man. I love that. Love that for myself. Yeah, I can't do anything. Literally nothing with that bubble.
I love my lawyer's cold. I love my run out of smoke. Post Malone's so cool, dude. Ah, dude, what is that whiff? What is that? Cigarette.
Oh my god. The original. We both did the same jump. No, dude, I'm out of ammo. That's the one thing about PK, only has 5 shots, dude. Wait, this hop up on PK is literally called Warlord. Did you know that, man?
I know. Oof.
There's something about punching Gibbies in bubbles that's so satisfying.
He's so big.
Yeah. Nah, dude, timing.
You know what? You know what I hate about bubble fighting in like this?
What?
Like everyone is so good at bubble fighting and shit, and then like when it gets to real games, people just don't like do half their shit they're doing.
Yeah, they
fucking,
forget about the jump shots. Like, the jump shots are so important in bubble fighting. Like you want to abuse the edge of the bubble fighting and jump over the edge to hit like a headshot or whatever, like a big pump, like this. And then people go in bubble fights and they fight like this
Yeah, they do.
in the middle of the bubble. What's up, guys?
Oh, that was fucking good. Jump right there.
Does he come up? And I'm with him. Not a good look.
Peace.
No, I whiffed my... No, that... Oh, no, you're hitting juicers. Is that Warlord's movement thing a bug? No, it's a hop-up. Like this.
Oh my god, I didn't get off. Sheesh. Come here, come here, come here. I need to say something. Stand still? 96 is max, yeah.
99 for PK. Well, it depends on the helmet. You could hit 113.
Yeah, I was about to say. Yeah, I was about to say.
But, you know, we have max helmets right now. But Mastiff does have an extra shot and it shoots a little bit faster as well. In my opinion.
no.
Doesn't it shoot faster?
Fast finger.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, so. For Gibby, I think Mastiff is like perfect.
Mastiff is way better because you can have your arm shield up and not lose it while you're fucking ADSing, but you do that on PK.
Yeah, with PK you don't ADS as much. Let me go get a Mastiff. I kinda want one. When I warm up my Mastiff. But there's no dual. Oh shit, there is.
11.
Yeah.
Ah, I'm
Look
ready.
at them, look at them. 110% effort right there.
Yeah, of
Right
course.
there.
I'll walk around my little dish here.
I kill the guy that wins. I'll fight that guy that wins.
You fight me now with no armor?
The fucking bitch or what?
We fight
Holy
Tajin
shit.
there.
120% effort. Alright, motherfuckers. Jiggle aim, jiggle aim, jiggle aim, jiggle aim.
My wing was not pulled out. Nice, nice
Back
assist.
shots.
Nice, everybody right there.
Back
Like it.
How I fought someone that used Mad Mag in comp. Didn't Dolphin use it yesterday in our lobby?
This gun isn't so.
Someone used yesterday out.
They used Dolphin, but no, we didn't get to fight them at all. It wouldn't be hard either way. I don't think Mad Mag is good.
Jiggle aim, no.
Good, but dual shell is so good for you, Mande. You
What?
can literally reload 2 bullets. Dual shell
Oh yeah,
is so good for you because you can reload 2 bullets and that's basically a kill.
yeah.
What do you think, Rapan? Welcome.
Yeah. 22, push. Lord.
Empire used it as well. They didn't do too well. Fuck, you know.
Look at
What
this
can I
gun.
Sheesh.
Good fire gang.
Ready?
Yeah. They did hip firing, dude.
No, dude, you got stuck on my head. Ma-da-da-da.
No.
Picture this. Dude, Mastiff is so good.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Everyone's sleeping on the Mastiff.
Okay. I mean, yesterday I wiped the whole team with a Mastiff.
Yeah, everyone's sleeping on it, dude.
It's cause like if you don't have a bolt, I think Mastiff is bad in my opinion. For me at
Fuck with
least.
Mastiff, no bolt also. I like it.
Just timing throws me off. Like PK no bolt is better for me. Is
You guys
Lan gonna
remember
be the next
EGPS?
guild? What?
EGPS?
No.
You don't remember that?
Nope.
Homie Kissing Ground?
I don't remember.
Damn, that's crazy.
My old.
Yeah. Do you remember Tajin?
No.
Remind me.
Damn!
What is EGPS?
GPS. Oh, yeah.
Wait, what is it?
You know, it's so old, bro. You will know it.
Girl.
Oh yeah, okay, I just remember now. Yeah.
That's long time, man.
That's Tashin saying, right?
No, I don't want to, I told it to Tajin.
I don't know anymore, man. But
I told Tajin and he was like, ah, okay, never mind then.
Yeah, the next LGS event other than Pro League is the LAN event. Yes, we have Pro League 3 more days, and then we have the LAN event in end of April. So 29th, 38th, and 1st of May, 3 days of LAN. We're probably gonna go a little
Wait,
bit
what?
earlier.
It starts the 29th, right?
Yeah, 29th, 38th, and 1st.
Ah, okay, yeah.
3 days.
Yeah. I was confused. I thought you said late April. I was like, what?
End of April.
Oh yeah,
wanna go.
I thought
Yeah.
you meant May. I thought you said May. That's what I meant.
No, end of April, start of May.
Yeah.
Sit still.
9, push.
Pushing.
Hold charge. 9 damage.
9. Let's go. It's crazy. Crazy amount of damage you're putting out. How am I doing 22 only?
How was that a whiff? That was on you.
Watson Cometa will fit it EME or any region. Watson Cometa is dead. Guys need to stop dreaming. Shit does not work.
They played in APAC.
Yeah, it's not gonna work in EU or NA. I can promise you that. Listen guys, APAC North, they have insane players. When it comes to tactics and fucking shit like that, they're a little bit behind everyone. Keep that in mind.
Dude, this gun is dog.
They're mechanically insane, but they're behind NA and EU in terms of, you know, tactics and shit. That's because their comp scene started a little bit later than us. Akira, thank you for welcome. People play Bang in EU because of Storm Point, and then I don't know why they play in World's Edge. I could not tell you. I'm pretty sure Hardeki and them died so many times because they didn't have a Gibby.
No way, it did, dude. It did it. What?
Ren
Almost disappeared and
War
I'm
in there,
stuck, bro.
Just
6 months, welcome
resubscribed
back.
for 6 months. Good luck in ALGS
Like
today.
APAC North probably has the most mechanically skilled players, but in terms of
Yeah.
like competitive, they're behind in my opinion, from what I'm
They
seeing.
literally, they take this game super serious and play 12 hours a day.
Yeah, in their mechanics, but in terms of like, I just think their region as a whole is not good enough, so they can't learn as fast as we are, because our region's been on top of it since day one, and NA as well. NA is also behind the EU in my opinion. They just have their top heavy teams are just really fucking good, but as a region they're behind us. We're just so dense with good teams. I mean, you can look at that leaderboard right now. NA's leaderboard in Pro League is so top heavy, while EU is more like spread around.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Go.
Go.
Fuck. Didn't NA win the only line in Apex? Yeah, it's like you're not even listening. I said top heavy. That means their top teams are really fucking good. But overall as a region, they're behind EU.
It's just me and this guitar playing the song. Maybe they're just all better than us. Yo?
I mean, if that was true, then in Poland, right? Yeah, NA, TSM won Poland, but there was more EU teams in top 10. And in finals in general, there was more EU teams than anything. If they're a better region, they would have more teams in it, right?
No.
And it has like, I don't know, like 8 really fucking good teams or some shit. Whereas EU has like 15, 16. Are we gonna who the best team in the world is, not the whole region.
See how I'm found now, articulate, hitting body parts and start shifting shit. Never hesitate, it's the rap game unlimited. Sign my roster, we can do this, forever infinite. Then reminisce, 20 years later, how we was getting it. Either with me, go against the grain, you better hit me.
Isn't Fulgur British as well? Chat. Damn everything. Alright. Okay. It's humid here as well, Stevie. Well,
Yo.
yeah.
40 minutes, that's pretty fast today, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dolph was playing Fortnite?
Yeah. Yeah.
Fortnite, Andy.
Hmm?
Back to the roots. Playing with Symphony.
Let's go over already, boys.
What?
Or the Discord 8.
Oh yeah, I'm done.
Okay.
Great.
Gotta throw the trash out real quick.
What?
I have to throw my trash away real quick.
Hmm.
What was that?
Yeah.
No, Zuka did not. What is that? What did he say?
Shut the fuck up.
Sigma, arigato. Gift. Gift, arigato. Let's get her. Oh god, what is this?
What's up? You guys watching a live video or
Shut
what?
the fuck up.
Watching Sweet reacting to my cheer from my chat. Ciao now. Green Day, yeah. Green Day. I also listen to Guns N' Roses. This song. Boulevard of Broken Dreams, American Idiot. I don't wanna be an American idiot. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-da-da-da. American idiot. No, shout out. With the Rockets. Ah! No! Yeah, I'll listen to some songs around next. Dude, this guy does not miss with the Sentinel. He's so annoying. Look at him. this fucking little asshole. Dude. Dude, he keeps hitting. Da 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 da. Alright, let's go. Do some more throwbacks. Some more throwbacks, dude. How about this song? Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. I haven't listened to Tool, but I listen to like Slipknot and stuff like that. Heard of Muse? I haven't listened to them. Muse. Korn, yeah, a little bit of Korn, a little bit of Slipknot. I'll just listen to what my brother and my dad listen to. Nope, Newman. '70s? I don't know. Eagles, I listen to the Eagles. Like Hotel California. Oh! Disorder. Did you miss Linkin Park? Yeah, we played Linkin Park. Bon Jovi, yeah, okay, Bon Jovi as well. But how about this? Let's be real. Come on. How about this song? Come on, this band was something else. This band was something else. Back in the day. God, this song was always like, this song can always rally up. That's some good music. I even listened to Nickelback. No cap, dude. I used to bust down on Nickelback after school. In my mom's car, driving from the school to home. We're slamming Nickelback, dude. Like this song right here. The wise man, I couldn't cut it as a poor man stealing. Sense of feeling. This is how you remind me. Come on, this is how you remind me. Code is out. Sorry.
Finally.
Come on, this is a banger. Come on. Yeah. 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 Alright, chat, we're leaving. Alright, I'm putting on delay right now. Alright, chat. Peace out. See you guys in 10 minutes. Bye bye. Different story.
Oh shit, I said 15 minutes delay and then watch.
Bye bye.